Yep, certainly no drama to be found with this one. Joking aside, if you guys actually think this video is about any of the on-set drama that occurred during the filming of this project, you came to the wrong place. I'm just gonna be talking about the movie. Heck, the title says Don't Worry Darling Movie Review. I really don't know what else you were expecting. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. In all seriousness, thank you so much for clicking on this video and stopping by. Let's talk about Don't Worry Darling. This is the second directorial credit for one Olivia Wilde after the excellent Booksmart from a few years ago. And we follow a young couple named Alice and Jack, who are played by Florence Pugh and Harry Styles respectively, and they live in this small colony sort of thing in the 1950s. It's known as Victory. And this is an experimental company town that houses the men who work on a top secret project. And while the husbands are hard at work, the wives get to enjoy the beauty, luxury, and debauchery of their seemingly perfect paradise. But when cracks in her life begin to appear, exposing flashes of something sinister lurking below the surface, Alice can't help but question exactly what she's doing in Victory. And I should also note that this is a spoiler-free video, so I can't exactly state why she's actually in Victory. But man, it's kind of f***ed up. And I will say, Booksmart was an excellent film, so a lot of people were really anticipating Don't Worry Darling. A lot of people love Florence Pugh, as I do, and honestly, that's the biggest praise I have for this project. Florence Pugh's back must be killing her right now, because the weight of this project literally is all over her shoulders, and she handles it with so much grace. This is a character who is dealing with so much emotional trauma, and she is up for the task here. And I've loved Florence Pugh for a long time. Even before she became Jelena Belova, I loved her in Fighting With My Family, which again, is another great film that I highly recommend you guys watch. But she is going to be a name that you guys should be watching out for years to come. And honestly, I would not be surprised if the Academy at least recognized her with a nomination for Best Actress for her work here. Seriously, she was incredible. Harry Styles, on the other hand, I'm sure I pissed off a good number of you when I say that, huh? Look, when you watch Harry Styles in this movie, you know he's trying his hardest, and you know he's throwing his all into it. But damn it, like, this guy is from One Direction. He's a singer. Not to say there's anything wrong with One Direction. I actually do enjoy a fair amount of their songs, admittedly. But this guy's not an actor. And there was a point where he just breaks down crying in this movie. I look over at my brother, who's watching the movie with me, and I literally just lean over and I'm like, yeah, he's crying because Florence Pugh can't carry him in these scenes anymore. I don't know, is that too harsh? Again, I'll give him credit where it's due. It certainly looks like he's trying his hardest, but there is not a single real convincing moment of him in this film. But thankfully, he's surrounded by great talent like Florence Pugh, who, like I said, carries the emotional weight of this movie on her shoulders. You also have Gemma in here giving a really interesting performance, and Chris Pine in this. My word, is he unsettling. I'm not implying anything of what this movie's about or anything like that, but Chris Pine legit comes off like a cult leader, which in itself is very terrifying. And I think Olivia Wilde does a masterful job in her direction of just creating maximum tension. The kitchen table scene between Florence Pugh and Chris Pine, you could just feel the dramatic subtext in here. The bomb under the tea table literally is about to explode at any moment. And I really appreciated this direction. I love the maximum tension. I love the cinematography in here. The sound design and the sound mixing also really helps to create that maximum tension I was just talking about. Well, not to mention having some really interesting musical choices in here. But you know what I'm not hearing enough people talk about? The symbolism. I love what Olivia Wilde is able to do with mirrors in specific shots. I love what this cinematographer, who also did A Star Is Born a few years ago, which I loved. I love the choreography. I love the blocking. Speaking of choreography, ballet. That's a big symbol, especially when it comes to the theme of symmetry. Keep your ears peeled out for that word, symmetry, because that's ultimately the biggest red flag about Don't Worry Darling, especially in the early going. The first act of this movie, even though it's incredibly slow and super ultra repetitive, there's a method to that madness. And the more and more I think about it, even though admittedly I was a little bit bored on this watch, I just felt like something was really, really off. And indeed it was, as a psychological horror would be, incredibly off. But that leads me into my biggest issue with Don't Worry Darling. It's honestly, as good as these performances are, as good as the technicals are, the script really holds it back, unfortunately. As I've mentioned, the first act, incredibly slow, very repetitive, very symmetrical, for good reason. But then you get to the actual plot twist and why victory even exists. Why are all these people here? It's a plot twist that my brother kind of called in the theater. And I'm not gonna say it on the air because obviously if you guys go and see this movie, I don't want to spoil it for you. That honestly leads to a lot more questions than it does finality. Because this movie is 2 hours and 3 minutes long. And it just kinda ends. I felt like I needed maybe about 10 more minutes to really add to the finality of what was going on. And maybe that helps add to the uneasiness of the situation where we don't know exactly what happens. But it honestly just doesn't feel like a complete script where you don't know exactly what happens to certain characters, you know? But this is a movie that's gonna make people think for quite some time. It certainly has not left my mind since I left the theater. Florence Pugh's performance, absolutely breathtaking. One of the strongest of her entire career. I highly, highly encourage the Academy to at least consider her for a nomination. Best cinematography is also certainly an option. Sound mixing, sound editing, also certainly on the table. But ultimately, it's the script and an unconvincing turn from Harry Styles that really, really holds back Don't Worry Darling for me. I'm gonna give Don't Worry Darling a C+. Yeah, even though it's really well made and all that jazz, I never envisioned myself watching this movie again in my life. But let me know what you guys thought of Don't Worry Darling down in the comments section below. What is your favorite plot twist in movie history? And why does it involve M. Night Shyamalan and his early projects? But joking aside, I love discussing all brand new things in movies and television with you guys. And I hope if you guys are new viewers, you can join me along for the ride. So do consider smashing that subscribe button and hit that notification bell right next door. That way you guys don't miss a second of the action from this point forward. And what the hey, feel free to throw up a thumbs up on your way out. Why not? Stay tuned for more exciting content hitting my channel very, very soon. I'm going to be heading out on a trip for a few days after this Saturday, so my content will be a little bit more sparse up until I get back on the 29th. But I'm definitely looking forward to watching Bros in theaters. Hocus Pocus 2 is also hitting Disney Plus on the 30th. And before you know it, we're going to be diving right into this year's list for the Halloween special. So guys, stay tuned for all that and much, much more. Y'all are the best. And with all that being said, back talk commence!